Hello Internet, future me here to talk about past me. Past me was a fool. I was playing around with my OBS settings and I may have changed a few things. Some things that I probably shouldn't have. And in doing that, I also changed all of the recording settings that I had set up for doing all of this. And I didn't realize that until I went to edit this video, one you're watching right now. Problem with that is I had already recorded this video. Well, not this video, the past me's video. And so now, well, all of those settings are in that video. And that means the audio and the video they're not at the quality that I expected them to be. That's kind of disappointing. But at the same time, I don't want to just redo the video. Because I think a lot of the gain you get from this is from what I do in the moment, how I write it as I'm doing it, how I learn. So I think there's still that value to be gained, and so hopefully it's not as bad as it is. Hopefully, past me learns from his mistakes and doesn't do this again. So here's future me signing off. And I'll give it back to past me to screw everything up and make fractals. So hope you guys enjoy it. Hello Internet, welcome back. We are working on our fractal shader today. We're taking a little break from Emotable and coming back to this guy because I want to make it move. So if you don't remember from our about a week ago, we were working on creating both a Mandelbrot and Julia set shader. We were porting it from XNA to this, and this is the result. But what I want to do is, if we look at this thing, this shader has a bunch of really fun properties that we can change and get totally different stuff. So we can pan this thing. We can go side to side, and we can zoom it in or not. That's looking really weird because I'm only scaling one thing, but you get the idea. Or not. Alright. So, what we want to do is, I'm thinking we're going to do some weird message passing thing. So, how we need this is, or how we are going to start with this is, we're going to open up our scripts folder and create a material animator folder. And this is going to have a material animator class. So I'm trying something totally different. We worked with message passing before, and well, actually in this project we worked on message passing. And so I was kind of thinking we're gonna do like a subscriber type thing. So this material animator will tie onto the material itself, but it isn't going to actually do anything. It's going to accept values from somewhere else, and based on those, we're going to warp this fractal. But how do we want to do that? I honestly don't know how this is going to work. I just had this idea in the elevator, and was like, this is going to be a good idea. There's no way this can go wrong. So, here we are. Why didn't you open? And just like that, we crashed Unity, and that was quick. Things have already started going wrong, and we're not even 3 minutes into it. Alright, and we're back. We've got our material animator. I don't know what happened there. Unity just locked. So, restarted it. Everything seems to be going fine. Hopefully, Visual Studio doesn't have a problem too. That would be that would be a great episode. Okay. So what we want this to do is it needs a reference to our material, and it needs a reference to something else that I can't think of. The name. We need to reference the name of the thing we're modifying in the material. So how this works, public, let's actually make this, we can make it public. Material, modified material. and we'll give it a public string named the material property. So how this is going to work, you're going to set both of these values. You're going to give it a material to modify and the property of that material to modify. And so this property is going to map directly to these names, that the ones with the underscores, the ones I have highlighted. So you give it this, and then it's going to figure out how to plug the value in. I haven't exactly figured out how we're going to make that work, but actually, how can we do this? So everything we're publishing is going to be a float, right? If I look, let's look at like the Julius shader. This is a float. Everything here is a float. The only thing that isn't is the iterations. And for right now, I vote we don't care about that. But the aspect, the pan, the zoom, the seed, all of those. Actually, is this going to work? I don't think it is. No, yeah, this will work. I was thinking we're going to need to pass both the value and the name, but we already have the name, so we don't need to worry about that. How this is going to work, I'm going to create a public, update material, needs return value void, update material method. And so this is going to be called from all of our updates. And we're going to pass in a float. And that can be a value. Then what we want is, I don't really like this, but we have, since some of our shaders are going to be vectors, we need some way to translate both the X and the Y to these. And there isn't a way to do that just in the normal thing. But what we can do is we can create a switch on the strings of our properties and then handle those differently. Which, there's got to be a better way to do it. But I think for now, let's get it working. And then if we think of something clever, well, then we can throw it in there. So first case is going to be, I'm going to give these actual different names. No, I've thought of a better way to do this. Let's make a public enum material target. And so we'll have zoom, zoom X, zoom Y, pan X, pan Y, what else? Aspect, and seed X and seed Y. So seed X, seed Y, and aspect. And then we can change this string to be a material target. And so all I'm doing is limiting what we can pass in here. And it also means we can handle these cases. So let's say you want to zoom. Try to do the Java thing there. That's not going to work. Wrong language. What we can do here now is be a little bit smart. We'll have to write a little bit more code. It won't just automatically assign things for us. We have to kind of code how we want it to work, which it could be better. But I think it's something that we need to do. So we're going to set the vector here. And since this is actually just the zoom, we can set everything to be whatever value it is. So this is the name we need. And we'll make a new vector 4 with our new value. Like that. So this should work for zoom. So we should be able to bind or create an event that kicks off this guy, create a new object that kicks off this event, listen to this, hear it, and update the zoom. And I believe you need to also update on, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just gonna quickly scroll through this, but I thought there you had to finalize your changes. Doesn't look like it. Okay, we'll ignore that for now. That may be, I think that may be with textures you need to do that. So yeah, we'll pretend like this is what it needs to be. And if it isn't, we'll figure out what's going on then. So next we need another class that's going to actually publish that event. And let's make it a sine publisher. Don't know how this is going to work. I'm starting to think this over more and more in my head as I'm writing it, and I'm starting to see all these problems that I don't know how we're going to fix yet. But we'll get to those when we get to those. Base 0 value. And for now, we'll set that at like 1. So this is like sine waves start in the center, and then they kind of go woo, like exactly like that. They even make that noise. And so we need some place where that baseline is. And then we'll have an amplitude equal, we can set that equal to 1 as well. And then we also need a time scale. And I'll set that equal to 0.25. Okay, then what we're doing is we're just passing that in. So we want to send, where are all of my messaging things? Okay, we're gonna have to look this up. Sorry, oh, okay. Send message with this. I don't know why IntelliSense isn't picking that up, but it isn't. I've just updated Visual Studio, so maybe it's doing something weird there, but not entirely sure. So we'll kick off an update material with our new value, and our new value is going to be the mathf.sine. Now it's saying it doesn't even know what these are. I think I broke something. Maybe I had a, so the reason all of this IntelliSense stuff was popping up is because I had a plugin for Visual Studio for Unity. Maybe that broke when I updated things. Maybe I didn't update that. Oops. Either way, we'll get to that later. So we want to multiply or add our 0 value to the sine of our time.time times the time scale. And then we want to multiply the full sine by the amplitude. And so how this is working is we have our 0 value, that's our base, and then we're going to add our sine to that. And so our sine is going to be the time that it's been since we started our game, times the time scale, so we can slow it down or speed it up if we need to. And then sine is going to be between -1 and 1. So if we multiply that by the amplitude, say we make it 2, then our sine will have a full size of, it will have an amplitude of 2 in both directions. That's important. So the full range will be double the amplitude, but it will go up and down exactly this much. So that allows us to kind of tweak things. So what we can do now, assuming all this works, is take this material animator and the sine publisher and attach both of them to our object. I'm attaching them to the quad here. And then I set the material in our material animator. And now we can tweak these values. So we can't, or we don't want this to happen. 0 value is 1, amplitude is 1, so 1 plus -1 is going to be 0. And I have a feeling a zoom of 0 is bad. So we're going to tweak this down to like 0.25, and then 0.25 on the time scale means it'll take 4 seconds for it to complete 1 second in our sine wave. So we should see it kind of zoom in and zoom out if everything's working. And if it isn't, well, that will suck. Okay, it is working. So this is what we were going for. We're able to kind of pulse in and pulse out, and we can change these in real time. So I can make this bigger and probably break things. Yeah, so what happened here, why it's on the other side, is if you look, the zoom is negative. And that's causing it to flip back and forth. So actually, if I set the 0 here, it will go in, and then it will zoom back out, and it will flip. And then it will zoom back out, and it will flip again, and so forth. So it'll just keep going like this, over and over and over, which is good. Our zoom works. Now let's implement all these other things. And each of these should be relatively easy. I think we can do them pretty quickly. So I'm going to hop through them all. Right, this is the wrong project. What am I doing? I'm going to go through them right now. So zoom X and zoom Y are almost identical, but they're a little bit different. So we need to set the vector of zoom to be this. But that's not quite right. We need the set vector. Ooh, not that. We need to get the vector first. And the reason we're doing this is we're passing in both X and Y, but we only want X to change. And so we need to get it first. And that's going to be like that. Current zoom, that can be the name of it. And so we've got that. We're working with X right now. So this can be current zoom dot Y, current zoom dot Z, and this final value is the W value. So there we go. There's X. Then we can just copy this for Y, place this with the value, and replace this with the current zoom.x. And it's not going to like this because, so right now we're getting syntax errors, and that's because we're declaring a variable twice. So one thing to note in C# is that your case statements do not create scope. And since they don't create scope, your variables don't get out of scope when you go between case statements. So if you declare variables in one, it continues all the way down, which is why using current zoom twice doesn't work. But if we do this, it does work. Even though we could hit this and then jump here, it will still work. I don't like to do this because I think that's weird, but that's a possibility. So what I'm actually going to do is just pull it out there and delete both of these. I still don't know if that's a good idea either, but it works. Next, we need aspect will be really easy because we can just do modified material dot set vector of aspect. I think this is what it's called. We'll have to check quick, but not vector. We're not setting a vector, we're setting a float. And then we can just break. And that should do good. So I'm just going to implement all of these, and then we can go test them one by one, make sure they work, and then try to really break things and create more modifiers. So we've got our aspect, and we've got our material target dot pan x, and that's going to create just a break there. I'm going to just write all these out for now. And y. Okay. So there's both of those. What else is left? Zoom, seed. I think seed is the only one left. So break. One thing to note, and when I'm writing all of these, is you cannot have a case statement that flows into another one, regardless of what it is, even if it's intentional. In C#, it's a syntax error to leave one of these breaks out. That's why I keep getting syntax errors when I finish them. This, like you can see, break statement is missing. So you can't do that. That's a requirement of the language. And I think most of that is just to prevent silly errors, because when you forget those, debugging it is impossible. Not quite impossible, but it will make you hate yourself. Speaking from experience, it's not fun. So set float of our pan new vector 4 current zoom dot y current zoom dot z and w. So I skipped over x because I typed it wrong and I didn't really want to delete them, so I'll just stick that in there now and create one more thing and not use the zoom. We want current pan. And that doesn't exist because we didn't set it. So we'll do that. And our pan should be good. I'm going to quickly check. Pan is done. What's going on? But oh, set float. Set vector. Done. Okay. We can copy and paste. This is our value. And this is our current pan.x. Then we just need to do that again here. And this is going to be our seed, and we'll need another variable up here for the current seed. Right? Yes, that's correct. So then we can just copy this. Oops. Ah, okay, done. So that should be all of them implemented. I think that works. That was super convincing, wasn't it? Okay, I'm gonna stop this because it's really not gonna like that. And we can now change things. So seed isn't supported by the Mandelbrot set, so I don't think doing that will affect anything. And I think we should be able to change these material properties. Yeah, material doesn't have a color property of seed. So that doesn't exist. So setting seed on the Mandelbrot set is going to throw an exception, which is kind of expected. But if we change the pan, this should move it side to side. And then we can change it to go up and down. I'm going to actually increase the speed of this. So we get that, move it down a little bit so it looks a little bit better. So this is not the camera moving. I want to make that clear. This is our shader being manipulated. And you can actually see it in the preview down here. You can actually see the object moving there. Like nothing's moving except our shader, which is cool. We're able to, you can do this kind of thing with any shader you want. You can set any value in it through programming it as you want. So what else do we need? Pan is working, zoom is working, aspect ratio. That looks funky. And so it's getting really stretched because we're setting the aspect ratio almost to 0. So it's stretching things infinitely. But that's also interesting. Yeah, this will be a little bit more intelligent. It kind of squishes and expands and whatnot. Yeah, so there's that. What else do we need to check? Seed. So to do that, I wonder if I can just change this here. The answer is yes. So switch the shader over to a Julia shader. And then I'm going to change the pan again. And just quickly reset our aspect ratio so it looks right. And then I'm gonna update our seeds and zoom. Our zoom is weird. I'm gonna set that to 1. We don't see anything. Well, isn't this interesting? I guess what we can do is scale this way down. Let's go like that and that. And so you can see these lines. Each of those represent an iteration in the fractal generation. There's 256 iterations in our current implementation. You can see it down there. So as it gets darker, it's doing more and more iterations. Okay. I see something. This is good. So what we need now is, let's zoom over to it. And I'm just trying to find it quick because what we're going to do next is test our seed. Oh, I lost it. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so this is pretty awesome. This is a animated Julia set based on modifying one of the seed values. And so I can get it to something kind of interesting, and then we can modify the other one. We're going to need to find something intelligent again. And there we go. So we get another fancy little thing. So yeah, there is our very interesting little animated shader. I mentioned I was seeing issues with this, and the issue I'm seeing is what happens when I create a new material animator and I want to attach it to some other script. Let's attach it to a sine publisher. So ideally, I want this guy to go to this and this guy to go to the other one. But that's not gonna happen here. There's no way to make that work with this current method. So I think we're gonna need to find a solution to that. And I don't know the best thing. Like, I'm just thinking, oh, I totally broke it. Didn't set the material there, so it's all messed up. But I think we can fix that. How? I haven't the faintest idea. But the ideas I'm thinking of, I think they'll work. That's probably not super reassuring, I guess, is the word I'd use. But Yeah, so this doesn't work. What's happening is we've got two publishers. They're both publishing the same thing, and they're both overriding one another. So one's publishing first, and then the other one's coming along and saying, no me, no me. And then both of these are picking up that second event. So this works for one. Like, we can have one of these guys, and I can move. Let's see, we'll set this to 0. Oh, that's kind of trippy. And I'll speed it up a bit just so we can see where this goes, because I haven't the faintest idea. 1. I think it's just, but anyway, we can assign one publisher to multiple animators, but we can't go the other way and say, I want these animators to have these publishers. And that's kind of what we want. We want to say, send this message to this thing, and then this thing will consume it. That's where we're going with. And so we want to have kind of a directed message thing. And so I think that's the next video, is we're going to add more of these publishers so we have more events, but first we're going to fix it so we can do this individual publishing. So until next video, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like or comment or subscribe or whatever it is you want to do. I try to put out videos every weekday, so come back for more if you want, and let me know what you liked and what you didn't like, and I'll try to make it better. So, till next time, see you, Internet.